Okay, so here we have the manipulator's portfolio number 3. And so what we had to do was that we had to solve 5 problems of multiplication and division. And so we'll just start here with the first multiplication problem of 3 times 4, which 4 is the multiplier, and we had to use the addition method. So here is my starting point. This is the addition method. And then here is the standard algorithm that I use to help me with my math. And here's the final answer. And my question was, I have 4 friends and I let them each have 3 sodas for the game night this weekend. How many sodas will I need to make sure all my friends have the same number of sodas? So this was the first problem. Then the second multiplication problem was this. And so this one was a bit trickier because it was 122 multiplied by 32, and 32 is the multiplier, and we had to use hierarchical materials, and we had to use the area model. And so this was my first attempt for solving it with the area model. I couldn't exactly figure out what I did incorrectly, but I did not get the correct answer. But the answer I did get was 1004. And so I wrote a note here that after finding the correct sum of 122 multiplied by 32 was 3,904, I viewed my model and struggled to know where I went wrong. I'm not sure what to do correctly or to this problem using the area model and hierarchical materials. And so this was my first attempt at using this, but I viewed the area model and I took another chance at trying to solve it, and I solved it in this method where we see the value of 122 over here and the value of 32 here. And so using this method, I was able to discover that there were 3 1000 values, then 8 100 values, 10 10 values, and 4 1 values. And after adding all of those up, I did come to the correct conclusion or answer of 3,904. And so my question here is, Justin wants to give 122 cookies to his friends. He wants to make sure each friend has the same amount of cookies as the other. So how many cookies will Jesse need to make so everyone gets the same number of cookies? So that was my question for the problem of 122 multiplied by 32. And so moving on to our first division problem, it is 126 divided by 6, and we had to solve this using the measurement method. And so here I have my original creation for the problem. And so 126 values here divided by 6. And so while using the measurement method, I had the 126 values laid out in a single line across. And so then what I decided to do was I had groups of 6, and I would sort them differently so that I had an accurate measurement of how many groups of 6 could accurately go into the value of 126. And so this equation here represents the values or the groups of values of 6. And so that's one group of 6 plus one group of 6 plus one group of 6 and so forth until I got the sum of 21. So 21 times 6 goes into 126. Or you could say 6 goes into 126 21 times. And so my question that I created here is, Justin has a book series of 6 books that he loves to read, but he wants to extend his library to 126 books. How many book series will he need to obtain to reach his goal of 126 books? And so this was the first division problem that we came across here. Now for the second division problem that we're going to go over, it is the problem of 144 divided by 12, and we had to solve this using the partition method. So here is the original format that I made for this problem. the value of 144 divided by 12. And so what I had to do was that I had to take this original value and separate it into, groups of unknown, but there had to be 12 separate groups. And so it was after I separated each one into 12 separate groups, I was able to then take the remainder of the values and sort them into each group equally. And so there are 12 rows of 12 tiles. And so my question that I made here was, I have 144 Legos that I play with, but I can only fit 12 Legos into a container my friend gave me. How many containers will I need to fit all my 144 Legos? So that was the question that I had for this problem of 144 divided by 12 using the partition method. And finally, we have the problem of 36 divided by 4, and we have to solve this using the comparison method. So here I have the original method because we have two separate values. We have the 36 value and the 4 value. Here I have the 36 value laid out, and then here I have the same problem, but I have the value of 4 and unknown values here to represent how many times or how many comparisons of 4 would actually go into the value of 36. And so what I did here was I changed all of these values into values of 4 that would work for this equation. And so I separated each one into groups of 4, and I had 8 in one line group. And so we have this many line groups. And so 8 and 1/4 values of 4 can go into 36 and be compared by there needing to be 32 additional values to add up to the sum of 36. And what that means is that there are 8 values of 4 that add up to 32, but we have additional values that have to go into solving this. And so, yes. And the question that I had here was, Casey has 4 pairs of shoes, but her older sister Maggie has 36 pairs of shoes than Casey. How many more pairs of shoes does Maggie have than Casey? And that was the question that I had. And so this is how you would solve using the comparison method. And this is the Manipulatives portfolio number 3 completed.